The last objection that we talked about did not really raise a serious objection to our definition or our principle of truth, our correspondence theory of truth. And we were looking at sentences, declarative sentences, as being the bearers, so to speak, the thing that could be true or false. But we're going to look at another example. It's going to show a minor difficulty, and it's going to suggest the difference between sentences, and we'll explain in about, a few minutes, is another notion of propositions. And just bear with me for a second. But let's think about an example of two people who live together, have a dog, and share responsibilities with regard to dog. They're two people, feeder and walker. Now, feeder's responsibility with respect to the dog is to feed the dog. Walker's responsibility is to walk the dog. Right? That's how we got the name feeder and walker for them. But let's think about that for a second. Notice or imagine feeder and walker both utter the sentence that's on number 11. I fed the dog. Is that sentence true, or is that sentence false? Does number 11 correctly describe the world? I fed the dog. And you kind of say, well, yes and no, right? It depends on who is using that sentence. Is it feeder or is it walker? The idea being, if feeder says, I fed the dog, it's correctly describing the world. If walker says it, it's not. So if feeder is saying it, it's true. If walker's saying it, it's false. But notice it's the same sentence that they're talking about. And this suggests a certain distinction. This distinction between what's sometimes called the type-token distinction. Now, notice you might say that when both feeder and walker utter or speak number 11, I fed the dog, they're using the same words, the same type, the same kind of sentence, right? The sentence made up of the words, I fed the dog. It's the same type of sentence. But notice that their utterance, their speaking, their using that sentence is a specific, what you might say, token of that type. If you guys don't remember it, in the old days they used to have these things called that would get you on the buses and subways that were called tokens. This was before Metro cards. So the idea was that they were the same sort of pass kind of thing. They're the same token, they're the same type, but each was an individual token that got you on the subway. The idea being that now let's go back to the sentence. Both feeder and walker are uttering the same type of sentence, but each one uses a different token. So it's beginning to look like it's the token that's the thing that's true or false. But notice what they're saying, that is what feeder is saying and what walker is saying, is different. Right? Because when feeder says, I fed the dog, he means I, feeder, fed the dog. When walker says it, he means I, walker, fed the dog. So these sentences have different meanings depending on who it is that is speaking that sentence. And we talk about the different meanings. We say they express different propositions. The idea of the propositions being the meaning, that is the actual meaning from the token that's a result of the token that the person uses. Right? So when feeder says it, he expresses the proposition, or he means I, feeder, fed the dog, not that Walker fed the dog. But when Walker utters, and in that case, it does that, that proposition that's expressed does correctly describe the world, so it is true. But when Walker says I fed the dog, he means I. His meaning, the proposition he's expressing is I, Walker, fed the dog, and in that case, the proposition that's expressed, the meaning of that sentence, is false. Now, just to review, sentence tokens are specific utterances, inscriptions, marks on a piece of paper, noises, marks on a screen. Sentence types are the patterns that the tokens follow, right? Feeder and Walker use the same type of sentence, but when they expressed it, when they uttered it, they had different tokens. So Feeder and Walker, when they utter the two different tokens, utter two different tokens, when they say I fed the dog, but the two sentence tokens are of the same type. But remember, they express different propositions. What they mean are two different things. And rough definition, a proposition, sometimes called a statement, is a specific thought or idea that a declarative sentence token expresses. So it's what a particular sentence, declarative sentence, expresses. So a statement or a proposition, and we'll use the term proposition. I should let you know that there are some issues in philosophy having to do with what the status, what kinds of things are these propositions. Some people think that there are these funny, what you might call metaphysical entities. There are these weird kinds of things. We're not going to worry about this from the sake of our arguments and logic and argument analysis. And remember that two sentence tokens express the same proposition when one fact in the world shows the two tokens to be true. So two different sets of facts of the world would show that the two tokens in our case are true. That is, the facts in the world being what's expressed in 11a, I, Feeder, fed the dog, which is the true statement or proposition, and that's the way the world is. And 11b, the set of facts in the world would be Walker's feeding the dog. There is no set of facts in the world because Walker does not feed the dog, he walks the dog. Now think of the statement, the Yankees won the World Series in 2009. One set of facts in the world makes number 12 true when you say them or when I say them, right? We have two different people, you and me. If you utter number 12, it's the same set of facts, make that true or false, as when I utter them. So we can express the same proposition, but it's not always the case that when we use the same words that we are expressing the same proposition. Both tokens express the same proposition in the case of number 12 when you use that token and when I use that token.